Magic Fantasy is a side-scrolling action Doujin game that only has about 4 stages and 1 major gimmick. It's really short at only about 10 minutes long, but within that limited time, it's really impressive in what it achieves with its pacing. Each level basically has 2 phases, the first being where the player is at a disadvantage, leaving them without abilities or skills to easily overcome foes. They'll need to dodge lobbed acorns from giant trees, hop over boulders rolled down by giant rock monsters, as well as evade dive-bombing birds. While these encounters are not hard per se, most enemies act as a fairly significant wall. It often takes more than a few hits to kill them, while also requiring some extensive maneuvering to line up a shot or dodge their attacks. Halfway through each stage, you'll find a power-up that gives the player the ability to cast various elemental spells, such as lobbing fireballs, sliding ice blocks across the ground, and launching tornadoes upwards. As you might expect, these spells do more damage to foes that are weak to them, although as an added bonus, the trajectory of the spell's projectile correlates with certain enemy attacks and movement patterns. Not only does an ice block deal more damage to giant rock monsters, it also slides across the floor and destroys the boulders they try to roll at you. Meanwhile, the bird scurrying about the top of the screen can be sniped by simply launching a tornado upward. Usually, the only spell useful in a stage is one found within it, with the exception of the final level that has waves of foes from every locale. It requires the player to quickly swap between magic types to deal the most damage to them. While there's no particularly unique spell for the final level, the final boss, a dragon, requires the player to be able to do that quick swapping between those different spells, so what's happening in the level actually does line up with the boss fight itself. And as the boss enters these different phases that line up with the different elements, his attack type matches that of the level it came from. So the ice block that previously destroyed rolling boulders now destroys the rolling fireballs across the floor. Meanwhile, the aerial dive the dragon does is very similar to how the birds attack you. While teaching the player in this way is nothing unique, what makes Magic Fantasy really cool is just how quickly it executes on this. In only a handful of minutes, the player learns not only how to evade certain threats, but also the spells to use in opposition multiple times over, and that final challenge really takes everything and brings it together.